The night was quiet but not silent. In the heart of the city, where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and the air buzzed with both ambition and despair, a man's cry broke the stillness. It wasn't the cry of someone physically hurt, but the cry of a soul collapsing under its own weight. A deep, muffled sob echoed from behind the tinted windows of a luxury black sedan parked in an alley no millionaire should have ever been in. On the other side of the street, curled up under a thin cardboard sheet, a boy lifted his head. His hair was matted, his face smeared with dirt, and his eyes carried the heavy shadows of hunger and cold nights. But his ears had learned to catch even the faintest sound. The city's whispers often determined his survival. He heard it again, a grown man crying. The boy, barely 14, dragged himself up, hugging his tattered jacket tighter. He had seen drunks cry, addicts break down, and children like him wail for food. But the sound coming from that car was different. It wasn't desperation for bread. It was the desperation of a man drowning in his own world of plenty. The boy crept closer, his bare feet careful on the wet pavement. He pressed his ear near the back window of the sedan. Between the sobs, he heard words, "I can't fix it. I can't fix it anymore." The boy tapped lightly on the glass. The man inside startled, quickly wiping his face, expecting to see a colleague or a reporter. Instead, his eyes fell on a boy no one ever noticed. The boy's lips parted. His voice was hoarse, yet steady. "I can fix it." The man frowned, confused, and unlocked the door. The boy slid inside, shivering from the blast of warmth. They sat in silence for a moment, the millionaire in his tailored suit and the homeless boy in rags, two worlds colliding. "You," the man said bitterly, "you think you can fix this?" He gestured at his chest, at his broken spirit. The boy nodded slowly. "Sometimes broken things just need to be seen. Sometimes that's enough." The man stared at him, lost. No one had said anything like that to him before, not his advisors, not his so-called friends, not even his family. The man's name was Adrian Cole, a tycoon known for building empires. His face graced business magazines. His speeches filled halls with applause. But inside, Adrian was crumbling. His marriage was over, his daughter barely spoke to him, and despite all his wealth, he felt like an imposter in his own life. Success had become a cage, and tonight he had driven into the dark corners of the city not to escape, but to disappear. And here, of all people, was a boy claiming he could fix what Adrian could not. "What's your name?" Adrian asked quietly. "Eli," the boy said. Adrian studied him, thin arms, cracked lips, eyes too old for such a young face. "And what exactly can you fix, Eli?" The boy gave a small shrug. "Anything that's really broken." Over the next hour, something unexpected happened. Adrian poured out his heart to this boy he had never met. He spoke of the pressure, the loneliness, the empire that felt like sand slipping through his fingers. And Eli listened, truly listened, the way no one else ever had. Not with judgment, not with greed, just with quiet presence. Then Eli told his own story. His father had died when he was little. His mother had tried to hold their family together, but illness had taken her too. Foster homes came and went until Eli ran away, convinced he was better off surviving on his own than being passed from hand to hand. Nights were cold, days were hungry, but he had learned to see things differently. "When you've lost everything," Eli said, "you stop fearing the small breaks. You learn that broken doesn't mean useless. It just means different." Adrian's eyes burned with tears. How was it that a boy with nothing spoke more wisdom than the countless experts he paid fortunes to advise him? That night, Adrian did something impulsive. "Come with me," he said. Eli hesitated. "To where?" "Home," Adrian replied simply. It wasn't trust that made Eli climb into the passenger seat. It was instinct. Something told him this man's pain was real, and for once, someone needed him. Adrian's mansion was vast, filled with cold marble and silent halls. Yet Eli noticed immediately, it was empty, not just of people but of warmth. No photos on the walls, no laughter echoing, just a museum of wealth, lifeless. Adrian gave him food, a warm bed, clean clothes. But what Adrian didn't realize was that it wasn't charity flowing one way. It was healing flowing both ways. Days turned into weeks. Eli stayed. He didn't ask for toys or money. Instead, he asked Adrian questions no one else dared. Why do you work so late if you're so tired? Why is there no picture of your daughter in the house? Why do you say you're fine when you're not? Questions that cut deeper than any boardroom confrontation. At first, Adrian resisted, but slowly, Eli's words peeled back the layers of armor. Adrian began to talk, to really talk. He admitted he didn't know how to be a father anymore, that he had chased success so fiercely he lost sight of love, that every time he tried to fix things with money, it only broke further. And every time, Eli answered softly with those 4 words, "I can fix it." One evening, Adrian sat with Eli by the fireplace. "You remind me of her," Adrian confessed. "My daughter, her name is Claire. She used to believe I could fix anything. A toy, a scraped knee, even her bad dreams. But then she grew up, and I wasn't there when she needed me. I don't think she believes in me anymore." Eli poked at the fire. "Maybe she doesn't need you to fix things. Maybe she just needs you to show up, even broken." Adrian swallowed hard. That night, for the first time in years, he picked up the phone and called his daughter. The next weekend, Claire visited. At first, she was distant, polite, but guarded. She saw Eli and raised her eyebrows. "Who's this?" "A friend," Adrian said simply. And to Adrian's surprise, it was Eli who bridged the silence between father and daughter. He cracked small jokes, told little stories, and somehow made the heavy air lighter. Slowly, Claire began to smile again. She began to look at her father, not as the man who abandoned her, but as the man trying to return. Weeks stretched into months. Adrian found himself changing. He still ran his empire, but differently. He no longer saw people as numbers, but as stories. He started visiting shelters, not just writing checks, but listening, learning. And every time he faltered, Eli was there with his simple faith. "I can fix it." But then came the hardest test. One rainy evening, Eli collapsed. His small body, starved for too many years, gave way. Adrian rushed him to the hospital, his heart pounding with fear he hadn't felt even in billion-dollar deals. The doctors were grim. Malnutrition, untreated infections, and exhaustion had taken their toll. Eli's recovery was uncertain. Adrian sat by his bedside, holding the boy's frail hand. For once, he whispered the words back, "I can fix it." But his voice shook, because he knew some things were beyond even his wealth. Days passed. Adrian refused to leave. He fed Eli spoonfuls of soup, read him stories, and begged whatever higher power existed to give the boy a chance. "You fixed me," Adrian whispered. "Now let me fix you." And slowly, miraculously, Eli fought back. His body grew stronger. His spirit never wavered. When he finally opened his eyes fully, his first words were the same as always. "I can fix it." Adrian laughed through tears. "Yes, Eli, you can." Months later, Adrian made a public announcement that shook the business world. He pledged not just millions, but his personal time and commitment to building programs for homeless children. Programs focused not just on shelter, but on mentorship, love, and healing. At his side when he spoke to the cameras was Eli. Not as a charity case, not as a symbol, but as family. And perhaps the most powerful moment came not from Adrian's speech, but from Eli's. With his small voice steady, he looked into the sea of cameras and said, "Sometimes people with everything forget what really matters. Sometimes people with nothing remember it. But when we meet in the middle, we can fix it." The world was silent for a heartbeat, and then erupted in applause. Adrian never claimed to have saved Eli. In truth, Eli had saved him. The boy had taught him what no wealth, no education, no empire ever could, that brokenness isn't the end. That sometimes the smallest voice carries the greatest wisdom. And that healing doesn't always mean erasing the cracks, but learning to live beautifully through them. In time, Claire grew close to both her father and Eli. Their house filled with laughter again, with warmth, with life. And every now and then, when Adrian faced a new storm, when doubt crept back into his heart, he would hear Eli's voice in his mind, clear as the night they met. "I can fix it." And Adrian would believe it. Because together, they already had.